Picks and bans should be ready for game 2 now, and we'll see if VNT can adjust things after game 1 here. Dutch Myrmidons, however, they're looking to just ride off the high, really, now.
Yeah, you've got so much momentum in a situation like this when you beat a team that you really didn't expect to, but you have to be conscious of that. You have to say, okay, that was great, but we have to kind of reel it in and make sure we're tight for this next game as well, because you can't let that excitement really get to you and play too loose.
And so we'll see what happens this time around. Well, Variety's new team will be first pick again, first ban again, so they will be on the order side one more time round. Myrmidons' draft last time was pretty solid for the most part here. They did look for the early invade on the left-hand side, which worked out great for them. Got off to a great start. Fell behind, came back into it again. We'll see if they go for the same sort of thing.
Very surprised. Yeah, we'll have to see if there's going to be another Wrath picked up for Variety's new team, because I really feel like that was a big key to the Dutch Myrmidons win, was that Wrath on BigSB, getting those blue buff invades, making sure they can invade on the right-hand side, and then the Fire Giants, that was very, very key for them as well. Just giving that dissuasion, basically, that are we really going to be able to secure it over that hog stun, basically. So very, very key. We'll have to see if Variety wants to kind of forego that teleport that he went for last time.
I'd like them to take Sylvanus away from Hoek here. I feel Hoek had a very, very important game there. His ultimate seemed to be very good and on point. Synergized well with the Aweedix, but mainly the pulls. And obviously the natural sustain that comes, well, not natural, but the Wisp sustain is so good for the extra protections as well. I think they should look at taking that away.
In Trix, very well versed on Sylvanus. Definitely definitely a comfort pick for him. Not something that you're going to be throwing out him outside of his god pool. Thanatos is still open, but instead it's going to be the Erlang Shen. They think that it was the DeathPanter in that solo lane. Zashu making plays.
Maybe not. Maybe just hitting his god pool a little bit and just trying to be like, listen, you're not going to get that comfortability again. Maybe we want to get Variety a little bit further ahead in this lane because he's not having to deal with an Erlang Shen.
Potentially, though, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Qvo take this into the jungle and really make an impact there with the CC sort of potential. Though he was doing so well, poking out DeathPanter consistently in the mid game. Dutch Myrmidon's going to take Khepri off the board. I'm wondering if this is going to be paired with a Thanatos, though, because Thanatos obviously very, very strong at countering Khepri, can execute through that Scarab's Blessing ultimate.
Or a bait for the Thanatos here, potentially could be. They're going to go with the Ratatoskr instead. Can flex to the solo lane as well. We've seen it. Variety's done it. I'm sure TheBigSB, formerly known as Zashu, could too.
And we saw that Ratatoskr was the first ban last time from Variety's new team. So Dutch Myrmidon's taking advantage of the fact that that is open this time around. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see a Thanatos here.
It's going to be Thana here for Variety's new team.
Thanatos Sylvanus is a great, you got both open.
Well, Freya's open, and Arkkyl wants to go back to that again. Got focused in the early stages, did decent. He was top of the damage charts for a long period of that game, even though he did get a lot of focus onto him during it. And it did hurt them with not having that tower push by drafting this.
I agree with you. I'd like to see almost some sort of augmentation to that tower push, whether it's a Hunter in the middle lane or something along those lines. But it is going to be the Sylvanus for Trixtank, and I really, really do like this pickup for them.
And it's not necessarily just picking up to take it away from Hoek, but it's also to actually make Dutch Myrmidons show more what other gods they do have here as well. Like we saw Erlang and Sylvanus on their roster. All right, cool, you won with that team. What else you got in the god pools?
Yeah, and that's the advantage of being one of these tenured teams. It's like, okay, we messed around a little bit in game 1. Maybe we should have been diving fountains, things along that nature. It's time to get serious, and we're just going to take away a lot of very strong gods that you just beat us with.
It's generally around the quarterfinals and the semifinals where teams start to realize, okay, I've got to step it up again now. We can't just have a little bit of fun, explore, and just have fun with the game, because you realize you get against more tenured, experienced teams.
And in these open bracket situations, I played in a million brackets like this on the Xbox scene, where you just play for so long, and then you're waiting for other games to finish, and the first few rounds are usually very, very easy, and you can kind of do whatever you want. And then you do get to these later stages, and you're right, you have to be like, okay, these are real now. These are real games that really matter. And it's difficult sometimes when you've been playing all day to really get back into the zone of trying as hard as you possibly can.
And that's one thing where the Challenger Cup teams have a bit of an advantage here as well, because the Pro League players don't do that anymore. They play their regimented games.
Yeah, they get their comfy life, man. Just show up at this time, play 2 games, see you later.
Whereas the Challenger Cup teams, they're there
grinding
the whole time, and that's what you got to do.
It's a different animal. It is absolutely a different animal. It's much easier to have, okay, we're playing this team at this day at this time, and let's prepare and get ready, and then you can psych yourself up for that. But to psych yourself up for an entire day of Smite can be very, very hard.
I do like the answer back from Myrmidons here to go with the Raw, though, just to get themselves some sustain in this meta as well. Obviously, up against the Sylvanus, you can't really go one without the other hit. You need sustain.
Absolutely, and we saw that's really been the name of the game, basically, during the end of Season 3, was that sustain meta. So like you mentioned. If one team has it, the other team basically needs to pick it up. And I really love Ra with this composition already. I mean, the Khepri abduct into a beam into an ult is a guaranteed combo every time if there's no purification. And that's going to shred even Trixtank in the early stages of the game. And then the knock up into the Searing Pain from Ratatoskr and Ra, easy combination to execute and very, very potent.
Good choices from Dutch and Myrmidons to ban the Thanatos and the Giannis as well after drafting the Ra for themselves. And obviously Khepri's not great against the Thanatos just because of the execution interaction.
Not only that, but it takes away that flex pick potential from Erlang. You don't know if that's jungle, you don't know if that's solo, and then the same for Thanatos. You could put in the solo lane for variety, you could take it into the jungle with QvoFred. And I love the Giannis ban as well, throwing back at Zyrhoes. I mean, Zyrhoes was one of the premier Giannis players in the world whenever he was in the middle lane. Like we said, he took a year off, he was in the solo lane for Cringe Crew, now back here playing in the mid lane for Variety's new team. So I like the recognition that his Giannis still gets.
And Poseidon locked in as well. That could cause a couple of issues for the Myrmidons here. Obviously, Khepri can't abduct away if he's crippled, and Ratatoskr can't dash away either. Can cause a couple of issues for them, and pretty good at locking down a Khepri as well for the most all intents and purposes.
Yeah, and the Ra not mobile, so it's going to be hard for him to get out of that whirlpool as well. I like this pick. We've seen a big resurgence of Poseidon in this meta recently, and you've got a lot of relic burners for Variety's new team. You've got a lot of ways to make sure that Sanctuary is down. You know, you're going to have to Sanctuary as Ra if Qvo's chasing you down on this Erlang Shen in the jungle.
The engage is a lot better as well. That's the real key here as well. The one thing that we haven't really seen and we've not really discussed before as we go into the game now is Sylvanus and Zeus was a combo that Eager brought out in the mid lane invades. Well, Sylvanus and Poseidon, very similar sort of beast because one root sets up a whirlpool, one whirlpool sets up a root.
Very true. They work together very, very well, and the one commonality that Poseidon and Zeus both share is the fact that they're both very, very strong in the early stages of the game. You don't want to fight them early on. Their early clear is fantastic, and they can absolutely fight you pre-5 even. Poseidon, basically the best level 2 clear because he can full clear with 2 skills.
Well, no messing around from VNT this time around. Look at the grouping on this right-hand side, looking for a pick early on. Dutch Myrmidons, so recognize that early game isn't necessarily the greatest here overall on paper as a team. So they're actually going to hang back safety, but BigSB is the first one in, the first one to get poked and walk away.
And you can see the Talari issues already being picked up from QvoFred in the jungle before going that Bumba's mask. And Trixtank just trying to bait everyone in for here from Dutch Myrmidons. He's like, yeah, I'm alone. Come fight me. I'm totally by myself.
He's got his root as well there as well, so they're not worried about getting pulled by him, so they can stand a little bit closer. And as long as they're at max distance, that root shouldn't be that impactful, especially knowing that Variety does not have a blink.
But you do see that Qvo has the Wrath. He's the only one in the game that has the Wrath right now, and that's why you see Variety's new team confident in setting this up. Trixtank not having Lisps, though, is a big loss for them in these level 1 fights.
Interesting trade between the two. MikeTheMagikarp went for damage there and gets more poked onto him. The shell early on used by VNT. The juggle from Variety is good. Looking for Magikarp. One more hit, but the tower shot is too much, though. And it's actually going to go the way of the BigSB. And the Dutch Myrmidons going to start off again the same way.
Oh, no. Just too much. A little too ham there, my man. Going up too strong into that tier 2 tower. Trixtank's going to be okay. He's a very tanky tree trying to get in there. Qvo still has the Wrath. You can see, Zyrhoes, as soon as they clear this mid wave, immediately heading towards the speed buff.
And I don't think they could even get the speed buff here right now. Dutch Myrmidons with the rotation coming in. It will go the way of VNT now. However, Zyrhoes gets pulled in the mid lane. He's under a bit of pressure here for the time being, but he falls back to safety for now, knowing that Mike is around the corner. Zyrhoes not really too worried, but he's walking to a full minion wave as well.
Zyrhoes very curious route there. That's a solo lane route, if I've ever seen it.
Oh, it didn't manage to find the damage from DeathPanter down the Raw. If that would have connected, could have spelled doomsday there for Zyrhoes at only level 2. The right-hand Harpy's still up. The left-hand Harpy's about to go the way of the Myrmidons now. So they lose their speed, but they get first blood.
And that's a big boon for them, as well as the fact that Variety seems to be on a different page than everyone else, just keeping him frustrated because he has been known to get frustrated in the past. And I think diving a tier 2 tower at level 1 indicates to me that he really wants to get this going.
Well, here's the thing about communication as well, and we discussed this coming into this set. It's the big thing that VNT have to find out who's in charge in comms, what the call is. And I reckon at the speed buff invades that they're trying to do early on, you need experience there. You need tenure and practice as a team to really recognize what the right call is and who's in charge. Because you'll make a different decision, that's what can go wrong.
Without a doubt. There's no minions, there's no other objective. It's just a straight up fight at level 1 and understanding the damage that each team is going to have. That is one of the most communication intensive moments in Smite, are these level 1 one-on-one fights around buffs, and that's a great point, that this is a team that still needs to find its footing as far as who that leader is in those sort of scenarios, and I think that you could see that lack of communication really taking part there in that first blood going the way of Dutch Myrmidons.
I'll be honest with Dutch Myrmidons as well, I'm not 100% how long this team has been together for the most part here, but it does show a little bit more of practice out of this team overall. They seem to realize who the leader is and what the calls are going to be. They collapse as a team for the most part, protect the back line. They clearly listen to each other's communications and seem to be functioning a little bit better than I expected.
And that's what you usually see. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, the kind of intricacies of this pro-level team versus the Challenger Cup scene. That's usually what you see, is that the communication is better, but the mechanics and the team play sometimes even are better from the pro level just because of that experience. They know what every role is supposed to be doing at all times.
It's taken me a long time to remember where I remember MikeTheMagikarp from, but it's Get Fisher. I've just realized now it is definitely Get Fisher.
It is Get Fisher,
It took me so long. So we've got Get Fisher and Zashu on this team. Both of them have had experience in the SPL overall throughout the year, so it's not a surprise to see them be able to stand up with the big boys for a little while at least and actually put on a bit of a show.
Yeah, an interesting combination between those two, to say the least. They're two pretty intense personalities from the European scene.
Most of these players on this roster of Dutch Myrmidons, I recognize, and they've all been on the cusp, if not part of the SPL. They could have gone to bigger and brighter futures, but either struggled for one reason or another, or run into drama such as getting their account banned, which has always caused issues.
That's my man Zashu right there. He said that, I know I read his tweet longer, as is custom to do basically in the scene. I'll hold that thought. MikeTheMagikarp up into the sky.
Straight onto Zyrhoes, stun, snipe, beautiful, but the Kraken's even better to get him out. Zyrhoes will leap away. The shell did come into play a little bit from Trixtank there, and the front line of Qvo and Trix can weather the storm with the extra damage. Myrmidons tried to make it happen. Sadly, though, VNT survive.
The shell, very, very well timed there from Trixtank, as well as the Wisps, giving those extra protections to Zyrhoes in that middle lane. But you also have to give a shout out to the shell from Hoek there, because MikeTheMagikarp is going to take a lot of damage.
And looking for the speed buff. Steal is what he was after. Magikarp in trouble, dashes in place, forced to Sanctuary. The knockup will absorb the damage for the most part, but still Karp's in trouble there, getting pressured out by Qvo. Will survive as Variety's forced to limp away for the time being, waiting for cooldowns. And meanwhile, Qvo still getting engaged on it. He will go down. BigSB picking it up.
And that's 2 kills, both kills going the way of the BigSB, aka Zashu in that solo lane. Trixtank trying to find the pull. That would have been excellent, excellent play there. Zyrhoes was waiting, but Hoek still had that Scarab's Blessing, not able to force it out.
Not gonna lie right now, I actually feel this could turn around very quickly. I'm actually favoring Dutch Myrmidons to win the set now.
Yeah, you're giving like real-time updates.
Yeah, and I really am feeling like Dutch Myrmidons are going to win this set with how they're playing right now, how game 1 went. VNT, they haven't shown me enough right now where Dutch Myrmidons, they're the ones on the forefront most of the time here, answering everything.
I don't know. The 2 kills both going on to Ravan. Ravan's going to be good in the early game anyways. You're not getting, your raw towards the later stages of the game or anything like that. Now Variety's still doing Variety
but
things.
On his own against 4 this time. They recognize he's trying to pressure, but now the reinforcements are here and they've overextended a little bit. Magikarp in trouble, all in place. Cripple, Kraken, good night, Sweet Prince. He will fall down. Zyrhoes gets credit for the kill. Cast a curse, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, possibly. Hoek there had the ultimate, but I don't think he had enough mana for it. Scarab's Blessing, a very high mana cost, and Khepri has a fairly low mana pool as a whole. So I think that's why you saw him just staring there and saying, "I'm so sorry, man. I just don't have the mana."
Always the issue with Khepri is remembering to save enough mana just for that, because you want to use the protection buff as much as possible to make sure you can protect your team, the root as well to help out. And by doing that, sometimes you don't have enough of your Scarab's Blessing, and then you sit and watch as your teammate dies, and they're like, "Why didn't you ult?
Just didn't have enough mana, man.
Why didn't you ult?
I'm so sorry." But he saved his life already with the shell earlier on, and there's a lot of ways to really immune this Kraken from Zyrhoes, and that's the big problem really, is that Poseidon very, very countered well by Khepri, but at the same time, there is some counterplay there because Zyrhoes can hold it.
On the left-hand side again, and great banish from Arkkyl in place to stop MikeTheMagikarp following up there whatsoever.
Very, very strong play. So next time, we saw this a lot at Super Regionals, I believe, when Freya was starting to get played a decent amount. When these junglers gank with these global ultimates, you have to land down and then backstep. Just backstep that banish, because especially when MikeTheMagikarp doesn't have that purification available, he's gone for the Sanctuary, he doesn't have a choice to get down from the air there.
In the mid lane, and BigSB rotating around, pressure onto Zyrhoes again. Fantastic knockback from the Tide there. And now with Qvo coming in, however, left-hand side, Trix is in a bit of trouble.
Taking a good amount of damage. The snipe is there as well. Trix still has the shell, waiting, uses Wrath of Terror. He's walking straight towards DeathPanter, though. The Kraken gonna buy him a little bit of time, and the taunt. Is Trix out?
He is out, and he's still safe as well. Nobody dies. Round the back, though. Arkkyl sweeping around looking for Panther, but he could walk into the whole team. He stepped on a ward. The whole team know about it. They collapse onto Arkkyl, and he's looking to clean it up. Not necessarily clean it up, I guess, just dissing it engage.
Wow, just one by one they go marching in basically, and no one dies for it. Somehow, BigSB has been consistently getting poked down on this right-hand side, and that's what you really expect from Variety on this tier. He did it last game as well, looked very, very strong in lane, but like you mentioned, whenever he was invading that blue buff, he's got to be conscious of how much damage he's taking.
Oh, he just get away just in time. Lawbringer will be perfectly executed from Variety there. BigSB didn't choose the right path in, but now he's a little bit deep, and he's got no real escape.
The police are here, and they're going to pick him up. MikeTheMagikarp makes him pay for his transgressions, able to get that kill onto Variety, his second death of the game already, but that's absolutely worth it for the solo laner for which the team is named. You get that kill onto the player that had both kills up to that point for Dutch Myrmidons. That gold bounty going to be very, very key, and that's why you see it's actually Variety who has the lead despite only now picking up a kill.
It's also that extra farm that he got from behind the tower. He got a little bit extra creep, so he's not going to lose too much, whereas the BigSB, he ended up losing a whole wave to that tower. He went to his jungler, but he got a few extra creeps, and they do add up as time goes on. Not only that, but a shutdown bonus as well.
Absolutely. You can see QvoFred actually going for the tankier sort of build here. Looks like it's going to be a Hide of the Urchin next for him, able to secure, I think, one of those mid-camp harpies. And I like this decision because, like you mentioned, last game there was a distinct lack of initiation potential from Variety's new team. This time around, QvoFred's going to try and make sure that they've got that potential.
So right now I'm looking at Hoek on this Khepri, and you can see he's investing into some magical defense. Very wise against, obviously, a Freya and the Poseidon as well. But the question is, does he end up going for the Pestilence to deal with the healing, or is it for more tankiness of, like, maybe the Hot Water Amulet?
I think you go for both. He's actually going to eat a Kraken in the jungle. I love the play from Zyrhoes, zoning away the support from the solo laner who's getting killed. The pull right after the Wrath of Terra. Trixtank making plays on this right-hand side. He's going to pick up a kill for his troubles as well.
Left side, we've got a fight going on between Freya and Sol as well, and there could be a lot of trouble here for the man that is Baas. Now Arkkyl, wait for the Sanctuary to wear off. He still needs a couple more hits, and so they both live for now.
That's absolutely a win for Arkkyl. He's getting the pressure early on Freya, which really shouldn't be happening against the Soul that has the superior clear in lane. Meanwhile, on the right side, you see Variety and Trixtank tag teaming this tower down, able to get that first tower of the game.
The problem is what happened there for Dutch Myrmidons. They were just a little bit too late to react to the pressure onto BigSB there. There was 4 members there, and you saw that Dutch Myrmidons did rotate to support him, but they were just too late, and in the end, they just filtered in like lemmings one by one, and it caused a bigger issue than it could have been.
But it was Zyrhoes positioning in the jungle, understanding that Hoek was the only way out there for the BigSB, and then using the Kraken on him, not necessarily to kill him necessarily, but to force that Scarab's Blessing and just stun him and knock him up in the jungle to make sure that he couldn't get there to save his solo laner. Really, really heads-up play there by Zyrhoes.
I'm still saying with Dutch Myrmidons for now. I'm going to flip-flop back again for the time being, but that was a big play for VNT there. 2k gold lead now. Gold Fury has gone down, as we saw a little bit earlier on, but meanwhile now it's Arkkyl in trouble. The pressure that he put on, he needs support from Quvo here. He's getting a little bit of gap space, but he's still going to fall down because Baas picks him up.
But Quvo not done yet, still looking for MikeTheMagikarp, not quite going to be able to find him, and I love the gank timing there from MikeTheMagikarp, understanding that Valkyrie's discretion was down while Supernova was up. Even with the Sanctuary, it just locks Arkkyl down for long enough to make sure that they can secure that kill.
And the big key here is that the Myrmidons are actually telling each other what's going on, and that's an important thing for an SPL level team here, is to say, listen, his Relic's down, he used his ultimate, come gank him right now. This is the right sort of time to try and put pressure onto him, try and find a pick.
And look how close that timing was, because now Arkyl's ultimate is already up. That's understanding that how long that ultimate cooldown is down for. It's very key to say, okay, their purification's down for the next 160 seconds, and then understand how much time that actually is and put that into action. But doing that for ultimate timers is a little bit more difficult. Very clean play there from Dutch Myrmidons.
I will say Zyrhoes has done a good job of hitting level 12 already in this game with how it's gone. Mid lane is normally a little bit further behind than experienced than where he is now, but he's got his second relic, which is a little bit better than some of the solo laners by now. But here's an engaging mid.
He finds a 2-man knockup directly into the snipe, but the 2-man Kraken there from Zyrhoes is perfect. Quvo able to get it with the turtle as he gets out of danger. Beautiful play there from Zyrhoes.
Arkkyl might be able to catch Baas on the rotation here. Pulse damage going to swing away. The cripple going to slow him down a little bit more. Hoek forced to ult there to try and help him out, but the ult is going to wear off, I think, in time. Arkyl's going to tell it to perfection. Variety may be able to go in for the cleanup. Instead, he's looking at Hoek.
Hoek not going to be able to find any escape there. Zyrhoes able to find that last hit. Second kill for him in this engagement. Very, very good team play that time from Variety's new team. That's the first time we've seen them look like a cohesive unit so far.
And look at the fact that he didn't go chasing the kill onto the low health off there of the Baas. He could have picked him up, but instead chose the user option and actually helps out his team a little bit more, getting the tier 1 time, and now looking a little bit towards the tier 2, but it's very repetitive of what happened in game 1 this so far.
A little bit, yeah. You could see definitely some similarities between the two. The big difference for me is that Trixtank has looked absolutely lights out. He played really, really well in the Khepri as well, but he's got a massive lead on Hoek right now. He's got a 3-level lead, 1-0-4 to the 0-2-3 line of Hoek, and going for that Heartward Amulet, and I like the pickup, and I feel like it's necessary in this matchup, but not the one that's going to help you as a support survive necessarily, and that's been the big problem for Hoek. He hasn't been able to stay alive long enough.
You talk about Trixtank and Qvo, hold that 4-0s in mid lane, forces Sanctuary early there to avoid a lot of damage. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Baas has already used the Disapparate, got a Sanctuary to avoid some of the burst damage coming out from that, but still in trouble, still needs support, and gets it from Fisher.
Arkkyl, no ultimate quite yet, still has Purification though. Trixtank is going to find him. Baas going the wrong way there. Arkkyl takes a little bit of damage from MikeTheMagikarp, but the whoop directly into the pin, cripples him in place. Dash going to keep him alive for now, but Variety is here.
And he's going to pull him back in towards it, but Arkkyl still under pressure. The sniper absorbed by the Sanctuary one more time. That's on the mark. And now Panther's going to go down thanks to Zyrhoes supporting Arkkyl. Picks up that kill. MikeTheMagikarp falls too. And it's starting to become a bit of a rout in these engagements, just like game 1.
The DeathPanter has to jump away, but Variety is there, and the Kraken as well. Zyrhoes absolutely on point so far. This game, really, really well played by him, that engagement as well. And now the Gold Fury looks like it's going to go the way of Variety's new team.
Yeah, and it should be a very, very big escalation in terms of gold income now, because we're going to be approaching around 6k, I think, here, at least, with how this game's gone. I said Zyrhoes could be a big and important factor of hitting that spike a little bit earlier, because the one issue Poseidon generally has for the most part is his mid-game is kind of lackluster. His early game, great. His late game, fantastic. I mean, his early game's okay. His late game is fantastic. But that mid game, he can fall off a little bit unless he's got a lead like this.
You finish your first 2 items, and that's your big power spike. And then Gem of Isolation is so expensive, and you need to build into that as Poseidon to become that late game zone control character that he really excels at being. And that's when he's at his weakness right now, basically. But Zyrhoes has played absolutely lights out. And for me, he's been the one that stood out to me as the real impact player so far for Variety's new team, at least in this game in particular. You got to give shout outs. There was just a small interaction on those left-hand Harpies where he gets a Sanctuary Force, but he understands that he gets rooted by Hoek and the Abduct is coming at him. So he throws out the Tidal Wave to interrupt the dash from Hoek, making sure he doesn't get silenced, which lets him save his Purification, which lets him come over and play aggressive. In that play right there, looking like he never left the mid lane.
Well, we talked about Trixtank, and I was going to say about QvoFred as well. These two players, Qvo and Trix, been together for a very long time. They made a big decision this year to join this team away from Orbit, away from the boys that they've been stuck with for over a year. So they must have expected something big from this team. It has to be a big change for them. They respect it's going to be a difficult change potentially at the start, but they recognize the potential of it, and they've got a lot to prove here.
Yeah, these two have been together forever, basically. Friends in high school and even before that, and so you expected them to stay together. And that Orbit roster finally breaking up, like you mentioned, they've been together what felt like forever. Lobster, Funball, that you just expected to see them alongside. Yep. Interesting to see what those two were going to do along with Xaylia, see how they can kind of fill the void left by these two players, but very, very strong kind of showing so far from Variety's new team, at least in Game 2 in the first half of Game 1.
Well, forced ultimate there onto BigSB thanks to the cripple after the Fearless, which was avoided by the overhead kick, but the pull is good. Onto Hoek, who's still only level 10. Arkkyl gets a solo kill on the left-hand side, and Hoek's going to fall down here. Maybe get to get back to the tower range, but no, he's still alive for the time in, but they're going to dive deep for him.
Qvo's going to find him. No, he's still alive. The Kraken was off the mark. Finally, Variety's able to find him. MikeTheMagikarp just able to get up into the tree to make sure he survives with his life as well. Sloppy engagement there, but it doesn't matter because Arkkyl picks up that solo kill on the left. Yeah. That is so key for them.
That's going to be a tier 1 time on the left-hand side because of that, because Arkkyl can just sit there all day unless GetFisher can get over here. Arkyl's going to be careful, though, because if GetFisher does come over, MikeTheMagikarp does come over here, he could try and cause a bit of a problem with him being that low on health.
But Arkkyl has both relics available. Even if he doesn't have Valkyrie's Discretion, it's not that big of a deal because of those relics. And here you see the sustained potential from Sylvanus, making sure this tier 2 tower on the right side goes down.
And he will fall down to an extra gold boon as well. Obviously, tier 2 towers worth a little bit more than tier 1s. You get a little bit more gold in those coffers, and the gold league continues to push in the way of VNT.
Almost 9,000 gold now at the 16-minute mark. Very, very difficult position for Dutch Myrmidons to be in, and this is what I was talking about. Whenever you win a game against a team you're supposed to lose to, it feels great. You're like, okay, now we got them. We got them right where we want them. But a lot of times you just make the other team mad. You just get them angry, and they're like, all right, I'm done. done with
Energy
this.
is a prime example of a team that does it all the time. You beat them in game 1, and then adapting like
you just get spanked in game 2.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this wasn't a spanking. The start of the game was not a spanking whatsoever. Myrmidons did a great job of defending on the invade, found themselves first blood, fought back into it, but now they're in trouble.
Hoek is the one in trouble, forced to abduct away, but MikeTheMagikarp, who was trying to help him, now he's the focus for the rest of the squad. Sanctuary being used, Scarab's blessing as well, just trying to keep him alive. That'll buy him enough time to get up into the air. Nice play between Hoek and MikeTheMagikarp.
But it did cost him 2 ultimates, and that's going to allow VNT to siege the mid lane a little bit more. Full minion wave here as well against only 4 members of the Dutch Myrmidons. They will continue to poke this tower down slowly but surely for the time being.
And that thing is slowly, with that Freya, not quite enough damage to really get that tower down quickly, but it doesn't matter because they're so far ahead. This time around, the Dutch Myrmidons can't do anything to fight into it. That tier 2 tower pushes the gold lead above that dreaded 10k mark.
Does look like we're going to see Spear the Megas come out again this time for Arkkyl this time around. Bit surprised by that one again, especially when Obsidian Shot does help with tower damage a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. But oh, big SB pulled in by Trixtank there. Arkkyl trying to find the shots over the wall, can't quite find him. Now Baas taking a lot of damage from that Valkyrie's discretion and Variety's ultimate as well.
Now look at the difference there in VNT. They dived in a little bit and then all of a sudden they went, no, let's not do game 1 over again. We won't continue the dive into the Phoenixes. We won't make this mistake of biting off more than we can chew. Instead, we'll fall back, take the win we got, even though we didn't get as big of one as we would have liked.
And this time they are going to look at the Fire Giant with the lead that they have, and I like this decision because they have the Wrath this time, as well as the Kraken. They've got that burst damage potential to secure this Fire Giant guaranteed, even over top of the Raw Snipe. Variety doing a great job just keeping everyone out. He's playing bouncer right now. No one's coming into the club. A Fire Giant. It's going to go the way of Variety's new team.
So it is looking like we could be heading towards a game 3 right now between these two teams. It is a best of 3 overall. 2 to win it and go through to the finals here and get yourself those bonus points. And it's all about the points that you get for your seeding, which will instigate whether or not you get through to the relegations after the 2 weeks of open bracket.
And that's a big thing, is that even if Dutch Myrmidons aren't able to find it this time around, this just gives them confidence going into week 2 that they can really hang with these guys, because I don't think anyone expects Variety's new team to not qualify for relegations or potentially even the SPL. I think they are absolutely a favorite to go in and compete in the spring split. And the fact that Dutch Myrmidons really gave them a show in game 1 and were able to come back and win that game gives them a lot of confidence moving forward.
Well, this is the first time we've seen the Dutch Myrmidons as well, but they've already down to the final 4. This is a semi-final game, so already they've got themselves in a good point situation for next week to come back. If they get another semi-final finish, they should be looking pretty solid to try and qualify themselves potentially into that open relegation spot.
Exactly. It's all, the top 3 teams out of these 2 weeks are going to go. So if you finish in the semifinals both times, then you're going to be in a really good spot. It'll be between you. And if it's the first top 4 both times, then you have to look at some tiebreaker situations and things of that nature.
And we'll see what happens with those as time goes on. At the moment, though, MikeTheMagikarp's going to split push right-hand side, trying to get their global goal back, trying to split the map up a little bit, and that's why you see Variety being forced to rotate around there right now.
Very surprised to see the Bloodforge pick up for MikeTheMagikarp, trying to get that big shield after a kill, but pretty risky. Not going to get a ton of use out of that lifesteal that you get along with that item, as well as the fact that it's just so expensive.
It is expensive overall. There is the siege just starting for VNT now. It is a 4v4 right now, but with MikeTheMagikarp coming back from the right-hand side here, he's used his ultimate very early by the looks of it there. He's not actually going to find what he was after. I'm lying, because I think he's just come down now. Indeed, as Trixtank with the shell pops, allowing Quvo to go in.
There's the Kraken right on top of Hoek. He's going to have to ult himself. No, he actually ults the wrong person. It's Robin who takes it. Trixtank getting low, and it is going to be Robin with that Scarab's blessing able to pick him up.
This time, though, they're focused on the Phoenix a little bit more here, VNT, than they were previously. I'm diving into things, taking it in turns to tank it up, and they will get the first Phoenix of the game on the left-hand side.
4 members still with Fire Giant here. Only ultimate available is DeathPanter on that Raw, so they have to watch out for that Searing Pain from a distance. But you can see the defensive relics for both carries right now, both up. They each have Sanctuary, each have Purification. So even despite that fact and the regeneration from the Fire Giant, I like this decision. Back up. We already got 1 Phoenix. We'll come back and get the next one whenever Trixtank respawns.
And we'll keep an eye on what they choose to do, because they may try and catch someone in the jungle right now. If that banish would have hit from Arkkyl, it could have been an awkward situation, especially with the relic situation on the side of Dutch Myrmidons. Only MikeTheMagikarp has Purification still up.
And that's the big thing, is that...
Hang on, we can start calling it beads again now, right?
Almost. We're almost there.
We could just call it beads now.
Can we?
I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just listen to you, so I want to blame you if something goes wrong here.
I think we start going back to Aegis and beads now.
Mid-game.
I am so excited about not having to say that ever again.
I kind of like Sanctuary. I'm down with the beads, but Sanctuary is a cool name. I like it.
Nah. It's just easy to say Aegis. Sanctuary is like the longest sentence to say overall.
It's a long name. But whenever I'm like trying to type if someone's Aegis is down, I always like just butcher the spelling because I'm trying to type real fast. And
then
I
say fat egg is down.
Fat egg is down?
Well, egg is down.
Well, then they would assume I'm dead.
That is true. Or F dot is dead. One of the two of you. It's either or. 22 minutes in now, and the VNT are actually trying to siege up 2 different areas at the same time. They're going to pick up MikeTheMagikarp in mid. His Purification was already down before that little skirmish there. Great pull onto poor old Hoek, who has to ult himself again, but he's not really going to go anywhere other than the front of his Phoenix for the time being. QvoFred will pop the ultimate, and then Variety will come in and clean it up.
It doesn't matter if Qvo pops it anyways. Variety, like you mentioned, cleaning it up nicely. 15-5 go the kills. Right Phoenix took a little bit of poke damage there. Trixtank just zoning everyone away. Variety over the top with the Lawbringer, finding the Fearless onto the DeathPanter, but everyone's like, okay, dude, let's
not do well. Again, it was another sign of them going a little bit too deep, but not as many mistakes this time from VNT. They came back from an early deficit. The Myrmidons have put them in, and this time they have secured themselves this game. 3 Phoenixes down, minions from the left, minions from the right, and the whole team barreling down mid.
DeathPanter just gets knocked up and decimated by Arkkyl with the Valkyrie's Discretion. Kraken still available for Zyrhoes. Tries to use it on MikeTheMagikarp, but he's going to dash out of danger. That could mean that the Titan's going to be a little bit harder to fall.
There's a lot of fire minions involved in this, and it's going to be difficult for the Myrmidons to keep defending. They're doing their best, though, as Hoek is now going to be juggled around and picked up by Variety one more time. Arkkyl getting quite low there, but dishing out as good as he got. He's going to have to use the Aegis, though, to get away.
That Stellar Burst doing a lot of damage. MikeTheMagikarp, though, taking that damage as well. The Blink, Fearless, he interrupted the dart there. Great play from Variety. That should secure the game. Game 2 goes the way of Variety's new team.
And that is going to make it a 1-1 situation, best of 3 scenario. And right now, Myrmidons going to have to sit back again and go, what else have we got in the tank? Because VNT seem to have found the answer now.
And that was a pretty demoralizing game for Dutch Myrmidons, I think, because, like you mentioned, they got off to a decent start, and then all of a sudden it just goes downhill. Variety's new team, Variety's new team, Variety's new team, just winning every single engagement. And there really wasn't a whole lot the Dutch Myrmidons could do past the 10-minute mark, basically.
And because of that, now they're going to find themselves in a situation of a game 3. Now, I guess because they lost that game, they may get first choice advantage here. Would you take order away from VNT here?
I don't know. I think that VNT's leaving a lot of openings for that getting 2 picks in a row that seem to be very strong. I think that the Ratatoskr pick was definitely to keep it away from Variety. It just did not work out yet again for MikeTheMagikarp. He's really been the one that it hasn't been catching up to the rest of that team, and they need to find a jungler for him that's going to allow him to pressure the map correctly and be able to really make an impact.
Well, Zyrhoes had a pretty good game in the mid lane on Poseidon. We mentioned that he got ahead very early on. Experience lead. I'm not sure where it really developed from because you don't really see that on mids too much.
Well, it was the fact that Trixtank was hanging around that right jungle a lot, and Zyrhoes got a lot of farm by himself. Just played so well all game. And it was just the positioning overall, cutting people off in the jungle, cutting off their rotations, using the Kraken as a CC tool sometimes, and then as an execute tool at other times. Very, very well played from him.
And he had a fantastic game, but once again, another carry, Arkkyl, also had a pretty big game for himself again on the Freya. I think we need to take that away from him now. 2 times in a row.
I agree with that, and you could give it to Baas. I mean, he clearly seems fairly comfortable on those magical ADCs, but maybe Sol not the right matchup for him into the Freya. Just was soloed there in that lane, so anything to keep Arkkyl away from that Freya. But the problem is that then he just takes the on her and beats you in lane early on. But at least you're trying to... The early game hasn't been too much of a problem yet for Dutch Myrmidons. It's been those mid to late game where it starts to snowball into Variety's new team's favor. Let's try and keep something away from Arkkyl that he can carry the late game with. That would be my strategy.
That could work out for them as well, because there's a lot of things to try and focus on this team, because you know the team of VNT so well. You know these players that they're like, well, I know he likes to play this, but then we also have this guy that likes to play this. Which one do we ban? Which one do we take? Who knows?
And that's one of the big things for these new teams when they come together is that you take their past experiences and you assume they're going to go with them, but maybe it doesn't work in that team composition. It's just so difficult to pick and ban against these new teams. It usually takes weeks or maybe even a month or 2 to really nail down what they like to pick and ban.
Well, as these guys get themselves ready for picks and bans, we're going to take a very quick break and we're back with the final game of this semi-final after this very short break.